Math is the one branch in the world that is actually perfect. I am 100% sure that Satoshi actually disappeared because if he would have been still around, he would have spoken and said, I want this thing on Bitcoin. As you probably know, Bonnie, people are worried about quantum computers and what they'll do to Bitcoin and to other cryptocurrencies. So the first thing is that what is a quantum computer? If a quantum computer were built tomorrow, it could use this sort of maze-finding way to actually break and find keys to spending all the Bitcoin out there.
Right.
And that's a problem.
But?
Okay, but.
One of the smartest brains in the world is next to me right now, Eli Ben-Sasson. He is the co-founder and CEO of StarkWare and the co-founder of Zcash. You've been waiting for this episode. Hello, Eli.
Thank you, Bonnie. It's a pleasure to be here. Very exciting conference, the Binance conference, and exciting time to be here.
For people that might be unfamiliar with what you do, why is your mission so important and why should they care?
Blockchain is about integrity. It's about creating a new layer of trust. And the way Bitcoin did this first is by basically everyone checking what everyone else is doing. And that's great. Bitcoin is great. But there are two problems with everyone checking what everyone else is doing. One is that of privacy, because now everyone sees what I'm paying for. That's not cool. The second problem is scale, because I need my laptop not just for verifying transactions. I need it also to do whatever I'm doing. So because of the privacy and scaling issues, Bitcoin and Ethereum and other blockchains are limited at very low transaction throughput. And Satoshi's amazing vision is not yet the basis for a global economy in which companies and people can just interact. So that's where I come in. I invented a lot of the Zk technology that solves both the privacy and the scalability problems of blockchain and allows basically to create a Bitcoin economy on the same principles as Bitcoin was founded.
I've talked to Adam back and he was describing this very early days of Bitcoin that a lot of people were questioning the transparent part. They're like, well, we love the design, but what about this? We want privacy. Take me back to the history. When it first came out, what was the conversation like?
Well, I entered Bitcoin in 2013. That's when I got red-pilled. I basically presented my math, the Zk math. I co-invented and said, oh.
That was after you learn about Bitcoin, and then you're like, we need to fix something? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was a professor of computer science and math at the time, but I was working on Zk technology, and I asked to speak at the Bitcoin conference in 2013, and there I presented this technology and said, look, this is a breakthrough, and it solves two problems. It solves the privacy and the scalability problem. And a lot of Bitcoin OGs at the time said, yes, we want this. But it takes a while for Bitcoin to adopt it. Now, what I know was by then Satoshi wasn't talking anymore. He stopped talking in 2011. He did say before he stopped talking, oh, if Zk was around, it could really help solve the anonymity problem of Bitcoin. And then he disappeared. Then we came in 2013 and said, look, we have Zk technology that actually works. And so I am 100% sure that Satoshi actually disappeared because if he would have been still around, he would have spoken and said, I want this thing on Bitcoin. I'm sure of that.
So you don't think the transparency part is the design? It's more like a limitation.
Satoshi didn't think it's the design. He saw it as a bug, not as a feature. He said that, even in the white paper, he recommends, replacing addresses once in a while in order to preserve anonymity. And in his correspondence, he did say that if Zk was around, it could help solve some of these problems. So yeah, I'm sure that he would have wanted this stuff.
For people that are not familiar with what Zk is, maybe like a very simple explanation.
Okay, very simple. When you get a bill at a restaurant, you get this piece of paper and it's a bunch of items that says at the end you should pay whatever, $13.50. What you have is a proof. It is something that convinces you that you really have to pay this number. And the way you verify it is by adding up the sums, computing the VAT, the tip, whatever. But it is a proof. So a proof is this piece of information that convinces you that the right computation was done. Okay, so ZK proofs are the same. They're like this receipt showing that the right thing is being done, but everything is blanked out, and you still know that the right thing is being done. And the sum you're going to pay at the restaurant is the correct one and not 100 times more, even though you don't see anything about it. So it's a very magical thing, gives you integrity without compromising your privacy.
Before you thought of this, did you come up with different ways of solving this privacy issue and then come to ZK in the end, or was it a very, this was the...
Okay. First of all, I should say this. I did not invent ZK.
You are the brain behind it.
Well, I think it's a little bit like, to take an analogy. So, if you think about atomic energy, there were the theoretical breakthroughs of Einstein and others that showed that, you could harness this energy. And then there were others like Oppenheimer and, von Neumann and others who reduced it to practice. Okay? So I'm one of those who are more in the reducing to practice phase. But the mathematical basics of ZK, this was discovered already in 1985, which was way before I entered the scene. So I'm one of those who helped bring it to the real world, because previously it was like, whatever, like time travel or cold fusion or, quantum computers, something that people are talking about but doesn't actually work.
Maybe I can rephrase my question to, have you explored different huge theories where you might be able to fix this problem?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I started as a mathematician, and I did about 20 years of research that all of it was about, or most of it was about, the efficiency of these proof systems and the very beautiful math behind them. But it's like very, very complex. So I did a lot of research there, but then the goal of that research was to make ZK practical.
And take me back to the moment, or like the period of time when you figured, hey, this could really help everyday people.
Oh yeah, so it was exactly May 2013. At the time, I was basically showing my work. So I was an academic. I was a professor of math and computer science. And I went around mostly academic places and gave talks saying, hey, look, here's something cool, and I don't know what you can do with it. And the listeners said, it's cool. We agree. We don't know what to do with it. And then I entered the Bitcoin conference. I was actually there in that area because I was giving a talk at Stanford and Berkeley. And the Bitcoin conference was was in San Jose. So I came to speak there, and I just fell in love. Because I realized there, wow, like this stuff that I've been looking for something to do with it. What happened was, like, Greg Maxwell and Mike Hearn, these are like OG core developers of Bitcoin. They came up to me after I spoke, and they said, okay, where's the code? And I asked them, why do you need the code? And they said, what do you mean? Here are like 5 different things we will do with this code if you give it to us tomorrow. And I said, okay, wow, like this thing clicks. So that was the moment in time that I fell in love with Bitcoin, and also was the first to realize that ZK solves both scalability and privacy for blockchain.
So for people that are not familiar, adding ZK means what? Like, means my Bitcoin transactions, you can see the transaction, but you don't know who it is for, or what are we talking about?
Yeah, so today, like, if I'm going to pay you in Bitcoin, you'll show me your address,
right,
and I will send you something. Now, you can use a browser to see what I did, how much I have in my wallet. I can do the same thing with you. Okay, imagine that what I do is you still give me your public address. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create something where everything is encrypted from the world, and even from you. And so the only thing the world sees is, let's say, some hash or some encryption of the transaction. And then there's this proof, this ZK proof, that proves that even though everything is encrypted and you don't know who is paying whom and how much, it is a true payment, meaning I own the funds, I'm actually subtracting the funds. You now get the information you need in order to add funds to your wallet or whatever. So it all works. You only learn that you received something and how much. And I cannot track, you spending that. You cannot learn anything about me. And the world doesn't even know how much was
I love
transferred.
that. Yeah. Like when I do transactions, sometimes I just come up with just all new addresses, new wallets,
We all do.
just because of that.
Exactly.
But in a world, okay, where big institutions are now on chain and they're doing transactions, of course they don't want to be tracked,
Exactly.
but the regulators want you to be tracked.
Yes. So I want to talk about both points. Look, so I run StarkWare. We have, we built StarkNet. My company has about 200 employees, and actually employees are, can get part of their salary as paid on StarkNet via like USDC or a stable coin. And a lot of people opt in for this because we love StarkNet. And it's like really, really easy to use. Okay, so now my CFO comes to me and says, look, this is a problem. Like if I send salaries, I need, exactly, I need to do like a lot of juggling around.
Yeah.
Exactly, and same thing with service providers. We also pay them. So exactly what you said is right. Like once, degens be degens, they don't care that much if whatever the small portion that they're putting aside to play whatever with blockchain, the world knows about it. But if you take a company and more and more companies are coming to StarkNet to like do stuff, then these things matter. Now you're right that regulators and also like many jurisdictions, according to their laws, in certain cases information must be revealed. So there is, when I talk about privacy, there are two different set of constraints that make it hard to solve for on a blockchain. One is the regulatory set of constraints, and the other is the UX, because often creating these ZK proofs and privacy just becomes very hard. Okay, so at Zcash, when I co-founded it, we went with one pretty extreme, full privacy case, which is great, and it was the first. But in terms of UX and ability to comply with various jurisdictions, it's a bit more tricky. Like there's more burden on the users, on whoever is servicing this to do that. With StarkNet, what we're doing is offering privacy that has much better UX and more agile when it comes to compliance, meaning it's easier for various entities and providers to get viewing keys into what happened in cases they need, which for those who are like, privacy maxis, they may not like it. But for those, let's say like my CFO and people who run companies and, need to abide by certain laws, it is a must. So it's a different place in the trade-off. We went for something that gives you better compliance and better UX. And that's the position we're taking with privacy on StarkNet.
You care about privacy a lot, and I want to know there has to be a story behind it. Why? Like if I care about something, I'm passionate about something, then there has to be a story behind it.
Well, for me, honestly, it started with, so I was a mathematician, and I really believed this math can find a use case. And then when I saw, and as I said, I was the first to see and realize that it solves both scalability and privacy, I said, I really want to take this amazing math and turn it into something real. This was, so I'm not coming to it from the ideological privacy tech. I came to it from I invented this cool math that I believe can do really good things in the world, and I want to see people use it. And, every day, every transaction on StarkNet and on Zcash uses technology and math that I actually, once wrote on a whiteboard or in a white paper. And it's just such a great feeling that, my math and my formulas are now actually powering the real Bitcoin economy. I never would have believed that.
And people are just following your work everywhere around the world.
Yeah, there are a lot of followers. Yesterday, I just had a podcast on post-quantum security with Professor Scott Aronson, a colleague of mine, who's like the authority on quantum computation. Because as you probably know, Bonnie, like people are worried about quantum computers and what they'll do to Bitcoin and to other cryptocurrencies.
Would you like to talk about that?
I would love to talk about that.
Yeah.
So the first thing is that what is a quantum computer? It is a machine that uses the very mysterious laws of quantum mechanics, which are mind-blowing and unbelievable, that allow, in certain cases, a physical device to sort of try many things in parallel without quite committing to any one of them. You're trying to find a way out of a maze, right? So you have all of these forks where you have to take left or right, and this happens many times. So in the quantum world, what we would do if we were walking in this maze, we would try one, go back, try another, and a classical computer works like that. It tries one thing, tries another, tries a third. In the quantum world, in some mysterious way, sometimes you can have a system where in parallel all of these paths in the maze are checked out, and actually for certain mazes the paths that end at a dead end die, and then the only one that remains is the correct one. And the universe works in that way, and it's like mind-blowing that it goes back to this thing that an electron can be in superposition, or it's not exactly here or there. So a quantum computer uses that very mysterious thing in order to break certain cryptographic systems and to find keys to Bitcoin transactions. So that's the threat, right? If a quantum computer were built tomorrow, it could use this sort of maze finding way to actually break and find keys to spending all the Bitcoin out there.
Right.
And that's a problem. Okay, there are other kinds of mazes where the quantum, the laws of the universe do not allow you to do this thing of that's forbidden. You cannot take and check all the paths and then have some of them, the wrong ones, die. So there are kinds of cryptographic systems where you're safe, and these are called post-quantum secure systems. So there is a way to move from the way we own Bitcoin today to a new way. And we at StarkWare are talking to a lot of people in trying to advocate for this. And in particular, the ZK Starks that StarkNet uses happens to be post-quantum secure. It's one of those things that remain. And you can basically take all of the blockchain technology that is susceptible or could be broken by a quantum computer, and you can save it using ZK Starks, which is what we're going to try and work on and convince the world to look at.
The world has to use it.
There are a number of different options. There are a number of different ways to have cryptography that survives a quantum computer. ZK Starks is one of them. I think it's the best way for a variety of reasons, but there are a number of ways, and I think we need all of them.
So is it fair to say that everyday people should not be too worried yet? Okay, so there is this report, McKinsey came out this, I think, May, and then, of course, quantum computing is one of the most advanced technology that we should watch out for, but the adoption was at 1. Does that mean it's still so far away from going mainstream? Are we actually far?
So that was the main question I asked Professor Aronson yesterday, and we discussed. So we don't know. I will say this. I'm an optimist. I think we'll be fine. But I think we'll be fine, and this is something that, Scott said on the interview yesterday, we'll be fine if we approach it the same way we approached back in the world this Y2K bug. So a lot of computer systems, when they were built, going and moving to the year 2000 could have caused serious problems, satellites would have crashed or something. But a few years before, the whole computer world said, okay, this is a problem, let's do all kinds of fixes and avert it. And then what happened was, January 1st, 2000 came and nothing happened. But nothing happened because we got prepared. My approach to the quantum threat is similar. If we, Bitcoin, other blockchains, Binance, a bunch of, big players in the field realize this is a threat and we have to act, then that's not a problem. The place where I worry about Bitcoin is that sometimes, there are all these fights about very small and ridiculous things, and then you worry. It's like, if we fight about those small things, then we're just not going to get enough urgency to fix the big one, which we can.
What is the reality now? I hear people talking about, all the companies, Bitcoin has all the smartest people, and they're already working on it. Don't worry.
So I'm in contact with many of the core devs and leaders of Bitcoin, and I can tell you, I was corresponding with many of them just over the past week, and they're all like on it and saying, yes, we're aware on it, we're aware of it, we're working on it. Like one very famous effort is called BIP 360, which is a Bitcoin improvement proposal, number 360, which is, the suggestion is to replace sort of, the bad cryptography, the one that could be broken by a quantum computer, with one that won't. So people are working about it, but you know what? Like on Twitter and other places, I am actually trying to be a little bit more of an alarmist. And the reason is that only if we take a more alarmist kind of approach, then will we avert the problem. If we're like too complacent and saying, no, don't worry, like it's going to be fine, that's not the right approach. The right approach is we should be worried. Let's fix it. Let's get this thing moving so that it ends up not being a problem. I'm an optimist. Even though I'm urging for action and saying, hey, let's get work, I would say to those who are asking themselves, is Bitcoin safe enough and so on? My answer is yes, it is, and you should hold a bit of it, not investment advice, but it is a very good asset. It's a very important thing. So yes.
I preach that every single day. But would you say no math is perfect?
No, actually, I think math is the one branch in the world that is actually perfect. Meaning, if something is proven and it doesn't have a bug, and most of the core things do not have a bug, then this is more perfect. Like math is the most solid and unbreakable kind of science or art. So math is actually perfect, but what is maybe imperfect is which parts of math do we choose to apply? So what is the problem with a quantum computer? We based all of the current way you own Bitcoin on certain kind of math.
Right.
The quantum computer will break. Mm-hmm. And this has been known for 30 years, since 1995. We knew there was this huge breakthrough, how to use a quantum computer in order to break cryptography, to factor integers. It's called Shor's algorithm. So since 1995, we know that if someone ever builds a quantum computer, this kind of math is not usable. It's not that the math is broken, it's that you can't use it for hiding your identity.
I love how you explain this.
Thank you.
So, but back in the days, it was a very small group of people that is aware of this. And now, because of all the media, people are like, oh.
Well, the media is amplifying what is actually happening at the vanguard of science.
Right.
Google and some other, I think IBM and Microsoft, each one of them have these brilliant teams of physicists and engineers building better and better quantum devices. Mm-hmm. And then the media correctly is saying, hey, world, this is actually coming. There may be a quantum computer that will then be able to factor all of the numbers that are used to, protect our Bitcoin. So and it's good that the media is doing that. Because we should get worried and we should act now.
Because most people have no answer to this question. So I think the most common answer or explanation I've heard is, oh, if that day comes, worry about war. Don't worry about your Bitcoin, or worry about, the traditional financial system, which is a lot bigger, being attacked. But I don't think that is really answering people's concern.
Well, I agree. It's not. So you're right that even when we do commerce on the internet, mm-hmm. we are using some cryptography that could be broken by a quantum computer. Mm. Yes, but within the conventional, the Web 2 world, there's an ongoing effort exactly to, avert this thing and replace the cryptography now being used with one that will be immune to a quantum computer. Now, with Bitcoin, the question is, will it be done in time or not? Mm-hmm. If it's done in time, no problem. If it's not done in time, yes, there is a problem. And let me just, expand on that. The reason people are not yet using these post-quantum signature ways, for transacting, is because they're less efficient. Takes more time. the signatures are longer, which means like blocks are going to be more clogged. The cost, transaction fees.
There's an option to use that now.
Well, not on Bitcoin, but I'm saying there are some proposals, and if you are to adapt one of them and add these things, you'll get signatures that instead of being like this long, they become much longer,
right.
And a processing time in Bitcoin script that is instead of like this long, it becomes this long, which means higher transaction fees. So as long as I don't have a quantum threat right now, I'd go for the cheaper, easier, prevalent thing. Another issue is like most of the hardware and software wallets today don't support these new things. So like it would be much harder. Like I would suddenly need to use my laptop in order to transact on Bitcoin. So that's why, it makes sense for folks to not yet move. In the Web 2 world, it's like less of an issue because people are not as orthodox about how much computation needs to be done by the network, right? If you suddenly have to do something that takes 10 times more, well, it's a bummer, but you just do 10 times more work. On Bitcoin, that's a huge problem because suddenly, blocks fill up. It's much harder. So one can do a bunch of things in order to solve the problem, but you need more scale and you need agility in like adopting new things, which again is like what I think StarkNet does really good.
Would you comment on the recent price action of what is happening? People are talking about Zcash being the real Bitcoin. That is what I'm hearing.
I love Zcash. I co-founded it. It's based on my math. I don't think it's, Bitcoin is the real Bitcoin, right? And, the Zcash is based on a paper that I co-authored, and its title is Zero Cash, I think like privacy on Bitcoin. So even the original suggestion was actually to bring this to Bitcoin. And, StarkNet, which is another ZK technology that gives scale and privacy, I also want to use it in order to expand the Bitcoin economy. So I don't think Zcash replaces Bitcoin. I don't think StarkNet replaces Bitcoin. And I don't think they should. I think Bitcoin is great. I would like to see Bitcoin doing some minor modifications that would allow it to scale better, integrate better with something like StarkNet, offer privacy. I think that is the best way for Bitcoin. But I certainly, I didn't create Zcash in order to replace Bitcoin. No.
The original mission was not.
No, it was. Well, the original mission was as scientists to say, hey, Bitcoin, here's something you, Bitcoin, like we, Bitcoin, can do and add privacy. But then we realized that like it will take a very long time. And indeed, we published that paper in 2014. So that was 12 years ago, almost, 11 years ago. And we wanted, as I told you, I came into this space as an entrepreneur because I wanted my shit to be, out there and usable. I don't want to wait 50 years and then hear that it was implemented on Bitcoin. I mean, so I want to do it wherever I can. But I think the best thing is like for Bitcoin to add privacy and scale in a variety of very simple ways. The simplest is to adopt this thing called Opcat, which is 9 lines of code that Satoshi introduced. And then basically Bitcoin automatically has all the privacy and all the scale it needs under Bitcoin principles by basically having StarkNet as its financialization layer. So like Bitcoin can stay the great Bitcoin it is and have this huge expansion by adding 9 lines of code and making it greater than ever.
The reason why I hesitated a little bit earlier about how Zcash is the real Bitcoin is because I saw that comment in like the altcoins forums, and you know how people, the Bitcoin believers are a little sensitive when it comes to this. But what I'm hearing now is this is all benefiting the Bitcoin ecosystem.
In my view, it is, yes.
But do you get any other type of opinion, pushbacks?
Of course, you get like, there are a lot of people, ultra maxis of Bitcoin, which to them, anything, it's almost this religious thing, which basically says Bitcoin in its current form with no change is like the word of God and cannot be improved upon. And any sort of thing that someone might want to offer to it, you should say, no, this is not Bitcoin. And so it's just, it's, shitcoin, it's bad, it's a scam, people, whatever. I strongly disagree with that. I think technology moves on. I think Bitcoin can, cautiously add some things that will improve it. I think it can be improved on without, ruining any of the things that make it so great.
Are you working on anything that is very exciting that you can share with people?
I work only, first of all, I do very little work right now. I get too much credit for what my amazing team is working on. So I mostly speak and try to give inspiration, but my team is working, I would say we only work on extremely exciting stuff. So some of the stuff we are working on is adding things like privacy in a usable, good UX way, trying to connect StarkNet to Bitcoin and to Zcash, increasing scale, allowing the Bitcoin economy to expand. Let me just mention one thing because it's very concrete and it's a call to action to anyone out there. Okay, it goes like this. Bitcoin right now is, the greatest asset out there as a store of value, but people are just hodling it. I think that a lot of people who hodl it would like to see an economy that is based on Bitcoin as an asset grow and expand, but it has to be very much in the Bitcoin spirit, which means you own your life, you own your coins, you don't transfer custody to anyone, you have good UX, you have a mature technology. Okay, all of that exists today on StarkNet. So here's how you can participate. Today you can take Bitcoin and you can stake it on StarkNet, which is a decentralized layer 2 for Bitcoin, and you will earn yield by doing so. There's already upwards of, I think there's about 1,800 Bitcoin already staked and generating about 2 to 4% of yield right now. So now, once you stake, the yield that you get is in the STRK token, which is the token for operating StarkNet. Now, as the economy expands and more economic activity on Bitcoin happens, if you take the STRK that you received and you stake that, you will receive further yield and you will see this whole economy, which is the Bitcoin economy, expanding. So there's a way for you to very safely hodl your Bitcoin, but still support the expansion of the Bitcoin economy on StarkNet. So you can just go and look for StarkNet, BTC staking, and follow from there.
One last question about the staking. Are companies staking their Bitcoin
Yes.
with you?
Yes.
Because this is my question. If I'm a retail investor that stakes a couple Bitcoin, I am probably okay with the risk I'm taking. But if we're talking about strategy with 650K Bitcoin, now what?
Well, strategy isn't yet staying.
Yeah, but at a later stage, right?
Yeah, so I think at a later stage, first of all, I think a lot of the digital asset treasury companies dealing with Bitcoin, I speak to many of the leaders of them, they are looking for ways to generate yield in a safe way. And they also, agree with my vision that you want a Bitcoin economy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I'm very optimistic that we'll see more and more of these companies, of these digital asset, these DATs, seeking yield and participating in the Bitcoin economy on StarkNet. And I think it's a very safe way and a very good way to, expand the Bitcoin mission and make Bitcoin this not just this asset that is being hodled by very few, but the basis for a new economy in which, you and I own our lives in a true sense. Like, we never have to call customer service. We really own our life.
This is what happened to me 2 days ago. I had a lady on an app. She's a masseuse. She came over to my hotel room. I was very tired from a flight. Now, before she left, she said, "Please give me good rating." And I was like, "Oh, sure. How do I do this?" And this lady has no clue which app it is, where her service is being advertised, and that got me thinking about privacy and what blockchain can really do for people. But I don't have a very definite answer yet.
Yes.
Do you have maybe like a vision of?
I have a vision.
Okay.
The vision is, it's exactly this. Like, the way I see StarkNet is a place where you own your life. What does that mean? Well, first of all, There are some things you never need to do. As I said, you never need, your transactions are never blocked, and you never need to call, some customer service to say, I want to move funds from here to there. You own your life. The second thing about you owning your life means that all of the transactions that you do, so much of what we do today is in the digital world. Right now, it is custodied with others. So like, think about our credit history. Who holds it and where do we get it from? It's not with us. And then our social media interactions, our profile, this is monetized and held and custodied by others. So I see, my vision is this thing, I call it the integrity web, where it's like a layer on top of the World Wide Web, where your reputation, your history, your actions, the reviews you give, your credit history is, first of all, privately held with you and only with you, and you choose, whom to share it with. You can monetize it. You can prove and assert your integrity using Zk and math and stuff like that. You don't need to go to a credit rating agency and say, oh, please, give me a letter that shows whatever, I paid my debts. You can do it by your own. And the technology exists today. And this is literally, if you go to the StarkWare page and you look at mission and vision, the vision is exactly what what we're ending with here. It's the integrity web where you and I own our lives, and it's not the centralized companies that we need to go and ask for letters that prove our integrity. We assert it by ourselves.
I love that this whole interview is like a full circle, and that was a perfect ending. I feel very zen right now. Thank you, Eli. Please come back soon and come to Taiwan.
I will.
Yes.
I will.
We would love to have you here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.